Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Corvus Corning, so welcome to Closet Movie Rambles, where I talk about old movies that I found in my closet while cleaning. This week's movie is Lady and the Tramp from 1955, and it's about 1 hour and 12 minutes long. And the movie starts with an intro credit sequence, and then cutting to a couple exchanging Christmas gifts, Jim and Darling. And Darling gets a puppy, which she names Lady. And of course, this little puppy can't sleep in their bed, so it's placed like downstairs somewhere, and it sneaks up into the bed. And Jim says, like, well, just this once, you can sleep in the bed, it's fine. And then cutting to months later, well, Lady's grown up and she still sleeps in the bed. And she goes out to chase a rat, which will become important later in the story. She scares it away and she gets the newspaper. And this is a very special day for Lady as well. She's supposed to get her first ownership, like a collar. And of course she gets it, and she goes out to her other neighboring dogs. This dog called Jock, and he has a Scottish accent, which is kind of funny. And she basically interrupts him when he's supposed to hide his bones. And as you all know, dogs are very, they hide their bones for a reason, so their other dogs won't find them. There's a funny sequence with that. And then Jock and Lady goes to visit this other dog, which is called Trusty. And Trusty used to work as a police dog or something like that, but he lost his sense of smell. So Lady goes back home, and then cutting to the other main character called the Tramp, and he is living at like a railroad station, and he's just a stray dog, and he goes to get food, and he goes to this pizzeria called Tony's Pizzeria, I guess, and he gets a bone from the owner or the busboy. And then cutting back to Lady, she's kind of in distress, or she's feeling out of place, and the reason for that is that Jim and Darling are having a baby, so she feels kind of left out. And while Jock and Trusty and Lady are talking, the Tramp just stumbles into this nice neighborhood, and he basically tells Lady about how things are supposed to be getting worse than they already are. And then he actually leaves. That's not a very nice thing to do, but that's exactly what he does. So Lady observes the changes in the family until that fateful day that a baby boy is born, and everything seems to be fine, but Jim and Darling needs to go on some sort of trip. I don't think it's really explained, but Lady and the baby is left in the care of Sarah, which is some kind of relative, and she doesn't have that like fond feelings about dogs because she has 2 Siamese cats. And I don't think that this will fly in a movie today, but they are plainly a rip-off of Chinese stereotypes, even to singing and everything. And they make a mess around the house, and of course Lady gets blamed for it, and Lady gets dragged down to the pet store where she gets a muzzle, which is some sort of like a not a cage, but they basically cover up the mouth so she can't bite anyone, and she doesn't like that, so she runs away. And in the end, she runs down this alleyway and she gets chased by a group of angry dogs, and the Tramp jumps in to save her. So now the Tramp and Lady goes to the zoo, and the reason for this is that they need someone to remove this muzzle from her face, or a snout. So they found this badger, and he basically takes it off because he needs to build a dam, and the Tramp convinces him that this muffled thing is actually a thing that's used to drag logs, which is this kind of a funny scene, actually. I'm not gonna lie. He has this kind of accent as well, like an old prospector or woodcutter would have. Also, that probably that's the funny part that I left about. So sometime later, Lady and Tramp goes to Tony's to eat meatballs and spaghetti, which is this famous scene. And then love is in the air. And the next morning, they wake up in the park, and Lady has cold feet, so she wants to return back to her home. She probably thinks that everything will be fine, but she managed to. I think the Tramp and Lady, the Tramp wants to chase chicken just to scare them off, and in this commotion, Lady gets captured by the dog catchers. So at this dog shelter, there's a lot of singing, a lot of bluesy dogs. They're basically howling the blues. And Lady gets taken back home because she has her collar on, so they know where she lives. And back at home, Jock and Trusty try to comfort her, and the Tramp arrive as if nothing ever happened, and there's a bit of an argument forward and backward, and he apologizes and leaves. And Lady has been held in this doghouse outside, and this rat from earlier actually sneaks into the house and somehow lady managed to alert the tramp, so the tramp goes into the apartment and he basically kills off the rat. But he managed to, tilt over the child carriage in the process, and lady gets blamed for that as well, and she gets put down into the basement. And the other dogs, Jock and Trusty, they actually realized that the tramp was, basically taking out this rat, and then they want to save him because he gets pounded by the dog catcher. I forgot to say that. That's a very important thing to say. So they chase down this dog catcher wagon, and they manage to stop it. But in this process, we actually think that Trusty dies, but he just hurt his paw a lot. And then cutting to some Christmases later, when the tramp and lady, they are living together, and he's been taken into this family, and they basically have pups together and everything. And this Trusty and Jock visit as well. They're welcome too, and there's like the happy ending of the movie, and that's pretty much the end of it. So what do I think about this movie? Well, it was a long time since I watched it in its entirety. I only think I've seen like once or twice in the past, and I was very little when I saw it. So I have this like foggy memory of the whole movie, how it plays out and everything. I think I remember more like I had this like book where it's like a little kid's book where it was kind of the like offsprings, the pups of the Lady and the Tramp, and how his life was going on. I remember that, but the movie not so much actually. It's one of those things where a clip from this movie actually plays every Christmas on Swedish television. So that part I remember, the part where they eat the meatballs and spaghetti, but the rest of the movie is like a fog, as I said. And I mean, it's a good movie, but I don't think I can recommend it to the young kids of today. With most old Disney movies, they don't really fly. There is some stereotypical things about the Siamese cats, and it's just they sing. It's just terrible. But then there are the other stereotypes. At this dog pound, there is this dog which is obviously called Boris, and he's a Russian dog, but he actually represents the poetic side of Russian literature. So I think that's good. He's like giving advice and stuff. But I don't think I can recommend the movie as a whole unless you're like a die-hard Disney fan or something. But yeah. So anyway, thanks for listening and or watching, and take care.